Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here. Welcome to this Ask the Trainer session. Today, we've got plenty of guests here. First of all, our Maxon internal team with Max and Dr. Sassi, but we also have Jonathan McFeeters and Diego Yama. And today, this is a themed session, and we want to talk about color workflows. And before we start doing that, I want to do the housekeeping here before I vanish in the background, answering questions and so on. So yeah, if you go to the Maxon website and if you go to news and events, you can see all of the sessions, all of the free trainings that we are offering. This is the Ask the Trainer session of today, but I want to promote it already. I will do that in the end as well. Today we will run a little bit shorter, like around 45 minutes, because on the top of the next hour, we will have the next hands-on with Maxon about color grading again. So Max will do another session in 1 hour, which is really exciting. Every Friday we've got VFX and Chill, which is also really cool. And every Monday we've got a demystifying post-production webinar where we are, like exploring parts of post-production. And the topic of this month is title design and animation. And another thing I want to point you to is the 3D and motion design show on September the 14th, because this is going to be a very exciting one, since we're gonna share some very exciting information. Cool. So here's a little bit more info about the hands-on with Max or Maxon, depending on how you want to.
Today is Max on, but after that it will be Max off.
Yeah. So today is about color grading workflows and pipelines. And if you are wondering or like just tuning in late, we're hosting all of the recordings of our sessions here on the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. So if you're interested in rewatching some of the stuff or watching some webinars that we did in the past about other topics like Redshift or Cinema 4D or whatever, you can do that here on the My Maxon Training Team channel. And another thing, we want to give away t-shirts for free. So in the handout section in the GoToWebinar interface, you will find an attachment where we have a link to the Maxon merchandise shop, and there's a coupon code in there. And if you use the link and the coupon code to order one t-shirt, you can order one t-shirt for free. You get that for free. You only have to pay for the shipping. And that's all of the housekeeping, actually. Now, the only thing that's left is I would like to ask you to enjoy the session. And I think Max is going to start, right?
Yeah, I have prepared something for you, actually.
Cool. So I will make you the presenter.
Thank you.
Here you go.
And I will not repeat my old mistakes, and I will share my screen now. I hope you guys can all see my screen. I suppose
can see it.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let me minimize all the cameras. Perfect. So today I would like to introduce you about two Magic Bullet suite. You all probably already know Magic Bullet Suite. It's the suite that Maxon has, and the suite consists of 7 different tools, and you can normally use the suite for color corrections, finishing, noise removal, or something like that. And you normally use this in your compositing app like After Effects, or in multiple different NLEs like Premiere Pros, Final Cut Pro, or Resolve. And the thing is, like, the questions that people normally ask themselves is that, can these tools work in a nowadays color managed project? Because color management is a big thing nowadays, and about color management, actually, it's another pitch to our sessions right after this. Diego will talk a lot about ACES today. We'll learn more about ACES in the hands-on with Maxon's sessions right after this. But the questions that I want to previously, what I want to show you is that, can Magic Bullet Looks works with ACES? Well, the answer is yes, and I would like to show you that today. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, to drop the questions in the questions sections. And let me show you Magic Bullet Suite. So if you go to Maxon website and select products and Red Giant Complete, there you have the Magic Bullet Suite. And here you can see there are 7 different tools, but the flagship tools that we have here is the Magic Bullet Looks, because inside Magic Bullet Looks you have all the other tools living in the Magic Bullet Looks, so you can access those tools inside the Magic Bullet Looks. But let's not dwell there. Let us go to Resolve. Here I already prepare 5 clips, which is shot with Arri camera. And let me show you the project settings. The project settings at the moment is in DaVinci YRGB and Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, so we're not in the color manage. And normally inside Resolve, what you should notice is that in each of this clip you have the node tree editor, right? And in the node tree editor there are 2 categories that you can access. That is the clip and then also the timeline clip, right? So let me explain this a little bit more, and then after that I promise you will go into ACES. So there's actually unknown how do you call it, method, that is, you can get 2 more groups by grouping all these clips into a group. So for example, if I take this first 3 clips, and let's go to the clip and right click and add into new group, for example, and just name it group A, for example. You see there are 2 more categories. Now we have clips and timeline, but before clip we have the group pre-clip. It means that all the adjustment that you do in this category will be applied into all the clips in this groups, but before the clip sections. And then you have quite the opposite, the group post clip. So the adjustment will be applied to all the clips inside the group, but after the clip level. So let us group this one as well into second group and call it group B. And what you normally do in a non-color managed workflow is that normally you will work manually to normalize your clip, right? Or you sometimes use the LUT to normalize your image. But let me show you that actually. And I already prepared some, how do you call it, node that I saved, and it's just 4 different nodes. It's just to speed up the process. So I will just apply this to all the clip. That is by selecting all those clips and middle click the stills. So let us work in post group workflow and drop in some LUT, Arri Alexa to Rec 709 to just normalize our image. So as you can see, we straight away we got some normalized image, and it looks nice and crisp already. But the thing is, how do you balance them, right? We can balance them in the clip level, for example. And bear in mind, we are still not in the color managed workflow. We are still in a non-color managed workflow. I just want to show you some example. So let us balance this by adjusting the, how do you call it, the exposure. It seems like I like to lift the shadow a little bit more and tame the highlights down. and bring the shadow down a little bit to get a nice and contrasty image. And yeah, looks quite good. And probably I'll move into, wait a second, sorry, drop again the shadow a little bit. Just like that. And now I can ripple the change to the current group. And as you can see, all the change applied to all the clips inside this group, right? So for example, if I want to balance it further and I want to change the color balance, I can use the how do you call it, the auto color balance tools, and just pick the neutral area. And by doing so, I can also ripple the changes to the current group, and I pretty much have it. So let's move to the second clip. Again, here I want to balance my clip by lifting up the shadow and pulling down the blacks and pulling down the highlights a little bit. And I will ripple. And pretty much it. I quite like it.
That's so great. I never
Except
do that. I forgot that option.
The ripple.
So that's yeah. Yeah, that's so great.
Sometimes we focus more into all the fancy things and we forgot the basics, right?
Yeah, but that one is so time saver. Great. It's a great tool.
Yeah, that's great.
So pretty much, let's compare this. Looks good. Okay. So the thing is, like, if you want to use Magic Bullet tools, you can do it either in the group post clip or in the timeline, right? So if you want to FX all the clips in the timeline, like the fast method would be like just apply it in the timeline. So for one of the tools that you can use to get like instant look, that is Mojo. What Mojo is doing is that it takes all the highlights and make it warm, and then also take all the shadows and midtones and make it cooler. So it operates in a complementary color scheme. So for example, you know, like teal and orange, for example. So let us drop Mojo. What you need to bear in mind is that Mojo, it takes any clip and then it converts to video level signal, right? So putting it right at the back, it will be like the best options. Here at the back, I have a lot before in the post clip that converts my clip from a log into Rec 709 type of signal. So here I can just choose video level and then probably just choose something light like that. So that is like how you normally use like Magic Bullet tools in when you're not in color manage. But the question is how are you going to use it when you are in the color manage? So let's switch gear and let's do the color manage in a nutshell. I'll try to make it fast.
So Max,
yes.
can I ask you a question? So the reason you add the Mojo at the end is like to give like a tonal adjustment or like a look into
yes.
what you did.
Yes, just the overall look after balancing all the clips in all the cuts in the timeline. So I balance them first, and then on the timeline I'll just do a little bit looks that can be applied to everything.
Okay, that's good. Nice.
Great.
So let us delete all the LUT here in the post clip because we are going to use the color management. So by pressing Control Home, you can reset everything. And now let's go to our project settings. And here in the project settings, we can simply just use the drop down in the color science, and we'll select ACES or ACESicity. What is the difference? I think you should come to our sessions. Diego will explain it. So in this case, I will just select ACESCC and ACES versions 1.2, and the input always the camera that it was shot. Luckily, I was just working with one type of footage, which is shot with Arri camera. So I'll use Alexa, and the output is Rec 709 and I'll be working in AP1 timeline space, right? And I press save, and right away I got like this nice and crisp image. So same thing like before. It looks balanced, by the way, because I haven't deleted the balance corrections before. So like before, let us create one node here in the timeline. Before we were using Mojo, right? So for example, if I want to use Mojo in the timeline, it looks different. It looks way too contrasty. Doesn't matter what type of signal that you use here. That is because we are still under the ACES framework and we are still in AP1 color space. The question is like, how can I use these tools if I want to work in this framework? Well, the answer, you can use Magic Bullet Looks. So let us drop Magic Bullet Looks here and select Edit Look. All right. So now let me just walk you through the interface of Magic Bullet Looks. And here you have all the presets, because Magic Bullet Looks shipped with over 300 presets. You can work with the presets if you like to. And you have collections of tools. There are 4 different tools category that you should know. The first one is the selective tools. These are the tools that change your lighting like you did in the scenes. And then the camera tools, think about filters that you put in front of your lenses. And then the color correction tools are the tools that you normally do in your color correction suite. And then some film emulations tools, right? What really important is this 2 handles over here, the input and output. These are called the color handling. Magic Bullet Looks works in a linear floating point, so you need to inform Magic Bullet Looks what type of footage you are working with and change the gamma. So in this case, I have drop down and I'll select Alexa, and then here I need to how do you call it? I need to set the output, and I have plenty of options. I can I can set the output to any of this drop down. But since we are still in ACES framework, I will just, I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake. See, live mistakes. The input, because we are in ACES, yes. So I thought I was
select ACES.
We have to select ACES. Yeah. Bam. Yeah. Thank you, Diego. And then the output, you can select ACES, yeah, or just select same as input, right? Nice. At the moment, it looks crisp because we have this sRGB preview, but actually it doesn't do anything. This is just a preview. So for example, if I do, how do you call it? Confirm that, nothing happens, right? Because I don't do any adjustments. So let us go back again. We are already have ACES here. And if you open tools, you have Mojo, the same tools, right? So here in Mojo, you can start working to your, how do you call it? To your aesthetics. You can add Mojo. For example, let me just add a little bit. 25 or maybe 15, something like that. Reduce the saturations a little bit, reduce the contrast a little bit, and I don't know, maybe reduce the strength and just hit OK. But before hitting OK, you can also add some diffusions or any type of light manipulations, like haze flare, for example, or shutter streak. But you know, we don't need to go over the board here. And yeah, let's just use diffusions and Mojo. And after that, you can just select yes, confirm it. And now you can go either full strength, 100%, or just use it tastefully, 35%, something like that. So this is before, and this is after. And if I update all my thumbnails, it's all applied into the image. So that is one way to do that. Do we have any questions so far?
I think there are not. But I have
There are
one
no
question. I have actually one question, Max, because I found really interesting. You
Yes,
can
Diego.
also apply this in the clip level, right?
In the clip level. Oh yes, of course I can apply that in the clip level, but
Yes. So
applying
you
this
can
in
modify
level,
each clip independently, right?
yes, exactly. Here. If I'm applying in the clip, means that I have to go to another
Yeah,
clip, apply it again.
uh,
So that's the reason why I just use it in a timeline level and have it set there.
yeah, and I think what you show us is time saver in both parts. First, you create a group, and then you ripple the changes to all of the clips in the group, and having a
Yes.
look in the timeline, it modifies everything what you have in your project. That's great. That's great. And I didn't know about that, about how to add the Mojo in ACES. Is great that you can modify the input
Yeah.
and the output. Yeah.
I mean, you can use you can do it like manually or just simply use Mojo, because you know it takes all the highlight and make it warm, and take all the midtones and shadow and make it cool, and just use it very small amount.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's no questions, I think I can also show you a little bit.
There is one question here.
Yeah.
I don't understand it so much, but it says, my question was why we use Mojo versus Magic Bullet, but true explanation.
The Mojo, as I mentioned before, Greg, it's from Greg, right? Yeah. Mojo, it gives you a simple and fast looks. It takes all the highlight and make it warm, and also take the midtones and shadow and make it cool. And the thing is like that. No, some people normally don't understand that Mojo takes everything and then it always spit out as a video signal. So in a non-color managed workflow, it's sometimes okay. You can just use it in any level you want, but you just need to bear in mind that this tools, it takes any footage, log or flat video or anything, and it outputs Rec 709. So we cannot use Mojo in the how do you call it, in the color management workflow,
Yes.
in ACES, for example, because it will
Because it doesn't
destroy
have the
all
input
the signals.
and the output. It doesn't have
Exactly.
the input.
That's why we use Magic Bullet looks. So and to how do you call it? I'm sorry, my English is going outside the window today, man. So we'll use Magic Bullet looks because it has the input and output, so it allows us to move in between all the color spaces.
And I will
lives in looks.
I will add also, Max, that
Yes.
answer the question that why you cannot use LUTs, normal LUTs, in ACES. The reason that you cannot use normal LUTs in ACES is because they don't have the ability for an input and output. So you have to tweak them and so on to go inside ACES. So what is doing the looks for Magic Bullet is that it's giving you the input and the output. So you can actually, and this is great, you can actually put looks wherever you want it and wherever you need it.
Exactly. And LUTs is very specific. It needs to work in a very specific environment, right? If it's made for 709, then it needs to be in 709. If it's made for any other else, you know.
Yes, and this is one of the things that is it's kind of complicated, but as a colorist, I think we need to understand, at least have a basic understand about the color spaces and the transfer curves that are having our tools and our footage and also our looks. Also, it's really important to have a basic understanding of that.
Yeah. So if anyone in the audience really want to know more about this, feel free to join us right after this. If there's no questions, I can show the modifications.
There's one question here, Max.
Yes.
I think it's more about well, it's about the stabilizing workflow in Resolve.
Okay.
So if you're stabilizing footage, should you use the super scaling in order to allow Resolve to zoom and crop at better quality, or is this done automatically in the stabilization window? This question is from Dustin. Do you know?
What is your experience, Johnny and Diego, about stabilizing?
Well, I think it does a pretty good job in Resolve. It's one of the best stabilizers you can use, I think. One thing that is tough to do is to match stabilization from Resolve to, say, Avid or Premiere. Each engine and each software is a little different, and you will have a really hard time. I had a job recently that all the stabilization was done in Premiere. This was last year for a show we worked on, and they wanted all the stabilization. You know, the online editor was handling the stabilization, and they said, well, can we get it to match, you know, Avid perfectly? And it is, boy, it's hard. You end up kind of going in and trying to roto things a little bit. That there is you know, you have to work with your client a little bit and really say, hey, lead them in the right direction, and say, hey, you know, Resolve has a wonderful stabilization, a few functions in there. It gives you 3 or 4 different ways to do it. Lots of tools to make it work right, but I don't feel like we lose any quality at all. I think it looks really good. You know, you could get some gel on some scenes, though. It depends how, you know, if you've got a scene that's just all over the place, you know, it can be tough to stabilize anything like that. Then you have to kind of revert to doing your own kind of clicking through step by step, frame by frame, and stabilize it that way, which, you know, that's a lot of work, but sometimes we gotta bite the bullet and do that. But quality wise, I think Resolve's got something good to offer for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will add to that part is that by default, when you use the stabilizer in Resolve, it use if you go to the project settings, Max.
Yes.
And then into image scaling.
Yeah.
It used that technology, the image scaling resize filter. So there you have the sharper, by cubic, by linear, and so on. Usually,
what if I put it to
yes,
custom?
even you can select a different one. So by default, it uses that one. It doesn't use the super scaling. That, as you guys know, the super scaling is a tool that was implemented, I think, 2 years ago. That was giving the ability to have a super scaling, as the name says, when you have to scale from HD to 4K and so on. And it's using, if I'm not wrong, artificial intelligence to do this.
Yeah.
Because it's doing a great job for that, this thing, extreme scaling. So what I will say is that because in stabilization, you are not actually using extreme scaling. So that's the reason that we can play with that filters that you see over there, that they give good results. And I don't think you can allow, I don't know, I have to check, but I don't think you can allow the super scaling to make that scaling in the stabilization.
Yeah. And I think Tony, we have another guest speaker last couple of weeks in a hands-on with Maxon, with Anthony Barry. I think he showed some tips and tricks about super scaling. And if you want to, you can check that in YouTube in the hands-on with Maxon second sessions, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think Tony talked about that as well.
Yeah, and I will add also to that part. Can you go to the stabilization part, to the window?
Yes.
Over there, and then stabilization. By default, the zoom check option is checked, as you see at the bottom, is checked. So this one is using the technology that you see in the project settings. But if you feel, Dustin, that you need to use the super scaling for that, you can uncheck this one and then enable the super scaling and do that by, I think, in the edit page, you can do that part.
I see. Well, that's a nice tips there, Diego. Thank you very much.
It was a tip on the way that I was thinking.
Drop it. Don't get the scale if it doesn't stabilize correctly. Drop down perspective. Go to similar. There's a few other ones, or they even give it the old engine, the old option to use kind of the classic one where you can put points in, and you never know. You got to try all the options once in a while. When you get a hard clip, you just go through them all and see what works best, but you'll find one that works for your project, your clip, and it'll definitely look better than what it did when you started. You got to think that way, think positive.
Yeah, Dustin had a follow-up question on this. So for the stabilization, should he go in per clip and add superscaling only on the clips that he stabilizes instead of the zoom in the color tab, or what would you suggest?
They go in per clip and add the super stabilization on the clip that I stabilize. Good question.
Super scale. I may be a little bit. Hey, I'm a colorist, but I don't know all the answers. That's for sure. Now, super scale, and when we talk about that, Diego and Max, is that the automatic? Is that what I've been coloring for a while. And I kind of do things. You do things automatic all the time, and some of the details leave this old mind. And so, when you super scale, are we just scaling? Is that when we set the project? Say we're in HD or in
Yeah, it's actually in the edit page. I don't know, you can go, Max, for people to see it. And right click in the media pool in the clip, and there you can select in one clip, select one clip in the media pool. There you go, right click, clip attributes.
Clip attributes, there you go.
Oh.
There you go, is that super scale. There you find it there. So what I will say to answer your question is that
I've never used that. That's great. This is new for me. Awesome.
yeah. That's the reason that for me, I knew that was there. If you ask me, have you used it? No, I haven't used it.
And why would we use that? What is that? Do we know, or what is that? Because I've just never used it. Been doing it a long time, and why would we?
It's like it was like for super scaling. Let's imagine from SD to 4K, for
4K,
HD to 8K for super scaling, something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
A little research I've got to do then here. This is
definitely, Dustin. I think you should check the second hands-on with Maxon video in YouTube. Tony talked about that, and
that's great.
he worked with that like quite often. So probably you can find more answer there. And if you have further questions to Tony, just simply email us, training@maxon.net.
I actually posted the link to that video in the chat.
Yeah, so
Sorry, Darren?
I posted the link to that video in the chat.
Awesome.
Cool. So here's well, coming back to color as the topic. Javier had a question about your experience. Does the client give you a color palette for you to work with, or do you usually work the colors out based on your personal and professional experience and taste?
Johnny, Diego, take it away, man.
Sure.
Sorry.
You want to go, or you want me to go? I don't.
Yeah, no, you go.
All right. When I start out, I like to I chat with the clients. If it's an old client that I've worked with for years and years, you develop a shorthand with that client, and so you kind of. I came from the world of film daily, so I worked on film for years and years, and the director of photography would come into the bay at 4 in the morning, and we'd transfer film, and that was a great. Every day was a laboratory workshop session. I miss those days. It was a lot of fun, and but once you start working with a client, yes, you'll start talking about. I like to say, hey, is there something you like in a magazine? Is there a movie that you like? There's a lot of questions. Just start throwing them out there. Community, there's no wrong question, but oftentimes there'll be a lookbook that might come from, say you're working on a commercial, there might be a lookbook that falls into your hands and you'll get the looks, maybe there's some just color squares that come with that, say, hey, this is the idea, and oftentimes they might have a tear out or something from a magazine, or as you say, it's a lot of times your DP is also a still photographer, they might take still photography, do a little bit of work on that first and give you say, hey, this is the look, this is the idea, but oftentimes it might be left up to the colorist too. You'll get a response from a DP once in a while. They'll say, hey, make it rich and bitchin', and you're like, what's that? And that just means, hey, make it look cool. And you're like, well, how cool is it going to look? Because sometimes I think something's cool and everybody else doesn't think it's cool. So but that happens. But you got to bring something to the table as a colorist. You know, they're going to say, okay, we want to go this direction. And if they have a real specific direction, they really want, they're leaning on you for your skills to get them there, and maybe bring a little extra to the table. Maybe there's something you can do with skin, or, you know, what's in your tool set that you can bring that somebody else can't do. But oftentimes, yes, you got to talk. You talk a little bit with the powers that be about how to make this project look, you know, and it's been decided a little bit, you know. So yeah, it's really helpful. Communication, got to do it. Talk.
Yes, definitely. I'm based on that. What I think always is that, I mean, the color is in the brain, and we talked with Max about this in the last session. The color is in the brain.
The
it's
first
not in the
sessions,
eye.
right, Diego?
Yeah. So you always have to think that. Jonathan see the color in a different way than Max, than me. So the only way for me to know what he has in his mind is ask questions. As Johnny said, ask questions.
Yeah.
There is no wrong question. As more questions as you ask, more you will understand what are the colors he has in his brain. So always ask questions. I always say, think that you are a colorist, but always think that you are a barber and you are going to cut his hair, or think that you are a psychologist and you are going to read his mind, or something like that. So ask as many questions.
Exactly. And I think it's a quite rare when you come to a color grading sessions and you will be presented with a color palette like this and this. Probably you have more like visuals reference, like, right? Like the image that you get from Shot Deck for something like that, you know, like what Johnny already mentions, a tear out from a magazine for fashion shot or something like this. It's more like how do you call it? A more like a verbal type of cues. Make it more like this, and you know, it's not like it's printed and this is the color palette. Do it like this.
Yeah, and I will say always ask that, because something that can be beautiful for me can be horrible for them.
Yeah.
So always ask them. It's not something that you are doing is awful or is wrong. Probably it's not what the people or what the client think. So always ask them. But I will add finally to that what Johnny says is that, okay, if they send you this, okay, give more.
Yeah.
Give more. Go also you send some references, search for some references, give more, and this is our job, to give more. To our job is, okay, to say what or to do what they think, but also to do more than what they think.
There's a great colorist named Sparkle at Technicolor, one of the great colorists out there, Stephen A. Arkle. Sparkle's his nickname, and it kind of took me under his wing a little bit when I used to four-wall at Technicolor, and he said, you know, Johnny, we're working for maximum client return. Maximum client return. That's what we're out here to do. If we're making a Whopper, we're making it their way, man. That's what they want. We want to make it their way, but make it a little bit better. You know, what can you do every time to make it better? You want your clients to feel like you know what you're doing. Be a good bartender, a good barber. You know, a bartender, you know, they run into all kinds of folks, and they're always talking their ear off. And somehow you got to find that line of communication with your client that makes them feel it, he or her feel at ease, and make them feel like they came to the right person to get the job done. You know, because we've also got budgets. Remember, we have budgets. You know, now a client will come in and they'll want to go, and it's like, well, wait a minute, there's a clock ticking, and there's not infinite money. It'd be nice if there was, but a lot of times you got to get that. You got to think about speed, and what Max is showing us here today is all about speed. That's great, man. I use groups all the time for all kinds of things, and that's what you got to do. So remember that, you know, when they bring you a color look that might be a little off the rails or crazy, you know, do your best to help figure that out. And how can you get that done also in the time and the budget that this client's bringing to you? And that's important too. Don't ever forget that, because they'll go somewhere else if you can't get it under budget. That'll happen, you know. But be friendly, be happy, and you know, make them feel like they came to the right person to get the job done.
Greg just said, so I guess you shouldn't talk to a client like your doctor. Definitely great.
Sometimes you got to tell them though. Nobody wants to hear that there was a mistake made, but we're also colorists, and sometimes we have to fix things. We're here to fix them. We're here to, we're here to help them get. I often compare color to like American football or in the NFL. We're offensive linemen to help the quarterback, maybe the DP or the directors who are behind us to get to the touchdown, to get to the next yard, to get to the first down. We're there to help them make them look good. That's what we're here for. Sometimes you have to be a doctor and say, well, there's an issue here, but let's come up with some ideas on how you're going to help them fix it. What can we do?
Yeah, and also what I say is that if the references are completely out of the story, say to him, say, hey, we are doing something, I don't know, we are doing a documentary video, but you are sending something to me like Transformer. Hey, come on, you have the knowledge. For say to him, let's think in the story. And that's always what we have to focus. Let's think in the story. I always say color is like music. We give emotions. We give emotions.
Yeah. And I think it's always good to understand that the visions of the project doesn't come from colorists. We just enhance what was visions by the director of photography. So we make them, we make their visions better. Lol. That's awkward silence.
Cool. There is well, I think the last question that we take today, because we have to close a little bit earlier today because of the next session. So Hugo asked, well, he's new to all of the color stuff, and so what are the most common effects or adjustments made using that tool? I think he's referring to Resolve. What makes this tool a must-have for colorists? He's new to color grading and he wants to have the right tools and wants to know how to use them. So he already said this is a great Q&A.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So let me just provide a small answer. In Resolve, first of all, it's a free-to-use software, and you can get two versions: the free versions or the full paid studio versions. And in my opinion, for color grading, it has like all the complete tools that you can play with. If you want to know what those tools are, I don't think our hands-on with Maxon sessions can cover everything, but we cover just a little bit. You should check them out in a YouTube.
I just have to correct myself. Sorry.
Yeah, the first sessions, we talk a little bit more about these tools. And what else? What other reasons do you think, Diego, is good? Why you should use Resolve?
Well, before you answer, he was referring to Magic Bullet, not to Resolve. He just made that clear.
Well, Magic Bullet. Sorry.
No,
do you? Max? Okay. Well, the idea about Magic Bullet is that you can achieve several things fast. That's the idea. That's the visions that the originator, the developer, the creator told us, that he wants to make things less complicated and easy and fast. And as you can see, if you use Magic Bullet in Resolve, if you use Magic Bullet in Premiere Pro or in After Effects, they all just gonna look the same. And by having it familiar, you can work literally in any host if you would like to. And sometimes in NLE, in other NLE, which is not a dedicated NLE for for color grading, sometimes there are tools that are lacking to achieve specific corrections, and there's where Magic Bullet suite shines.
Yeah, in addition to that part, just a small part, I will add that, yes, why is a great tool? Because it gives you great results really fast. But in general talking, I will say that as a colorist, what you need to learn more, independent of the software, if it's Resolve, if it's Scratch, if it's Bestlight, is learn how to use the primaries. The primaries are the kings. Then you go forward, but learn how to use the primaries.
Max, would you click on the primary down here in primaries on the first dot? Now your lift gamma gain, that's, you can, I'd say that's where I got my chops, you know, working with DaVinci products for over 20 years.
Yes.
Lift gamma gain, that's it. You can get to most really good looks with lift gamma gain, like 80%, sometimes 100% of the look you can get there. Just try that first.
Only with lift gamma gain.
Try that before you go to the log dials. Go to that first, and don't be afraid of the midtones. Remember, life lives in the midtones. That's where we're at. Don't forget that's where we're at, because that's
the
where,
midtones is the gamma wheel, by the way.
the gamma wheel. I'm so sorry, the gamma. Yes, and so it's also midtone. But gamma, that's it. That's what it. Remember, that's where we're at. You know.
Yeah.
You know, set your blacks, you set your lift, set your gain, and set your midtones, and you know, look at your scopes. A lot of times the waveforms are a really good thing to work with. Look at it, even things out. Figure out how to even things out with your scopes. Really work hard with those. You know, especially your waveform monitor. Look at that and figure that guy out. You know, there's a lot of things out on YouTube about it, but figure out how to do that. And if you can do that on your images, that's going to get you there. And then when you start adding these other grades plugins, it'll make your footage look beautiful. It's great. But learn that, you know, a car won't run straight with a crooked frame. You know, you gotta set your framework first with lift gamma gain, and then move on from there, and you'll be moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree with that, Johnny.
Great. So I think we have to close here because you have to start the next session, right?
Yes.
So I'm gonna grab the screen back here.
All right.
And let me see. So now you should see my browser again. So if you came in late, or if you want to rewatch one of the previous webinars that we did, always go to the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. This is where we are hosting all of the recordings of our sessions. Also, visit the Maxon events page, maxon.net, and then under events, you find all of the sessions that we are planning, and our webinars are always free. And one thing I want to point out here is the 3D motion show on September the 14th, because we're gonna have some exciting news in there. And yeah, next up is hands-on with Maxon, the introduction to color grading, by the very same gentleman that you can see here.
Come join us.
If you want to meet them in 12 minutes, again, just join the webinar, go down, you'll find the registration button here, and yeah, watch them doing what they love.
Definitely.
Cool. And yeah, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to have a free t-shirt, you can have that. There's a handout in the handout section in the GoToWebinar interface with a link to the Maxon merchandise shop and a coupon code. And if you enter that, you don't have to pay for the t-shirt, just for the shipping. You can order one t-shirt. Cool. So that's everything we have for today. And well, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. I did. And yeah, see you next time.
Guys.
Thanks,
yes,
everyone. Thanks, Max. Thanks, John. Thanks, Diego. Thanks, Darren and Sasi, for answering questions in the background. Bye, everyone.
Bye.